Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Everyone, welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Corner Bookstore. This is one of our most popular shows where we feature authors and publishers, writers from around the world, sharing their story, their expertise, and their work. My co-host, colleague, and friend, DIANN'S, is on holiday, and she's not with us today. So I am here interviewing another outstanding author and publisher who comes to us from Mickey Mickelson. Thank you, Mickey. We love you. And her name is Wendy Hawkin. Let's welcome her to the program. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Jacalyn. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. And you are an author and publisher with Blue Haven Press. And your website is bluehavenpress.com, which we'll be showing a little bit later. Wendy, I was reading your bio and I was taken aback by how cool your life has been. You have done so many things in so many different areas. And I know that they all lead back to the books that you've written. So I'd like to start off asking you a question about your background and your quest to find out more about your ancestry.
Oh, okay, sure. That's an interesting story. When I was writing Lure, and I was leaving my ex-husband, this is 30 years ago, I was really involved in Indigenous Studies, and I wanted to go to Trent University and take Indigenous Studies. So I did, and partway through that, my mother, who was 75 at the time, said, "Oh yeah, I understand why you're into this stuff. You know, my great-great-grandmother was Tuscarora." And I said, "What?" Like, I didn't understand, A, why it took so long to hear this, and B, that she actually knew that term. They know that's the Six Nation in the Iroquois Confederacy. So yeah, that's where that went.
That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Because I know that many people are on a quest to find out about their background, and it's really neat when you're able to connect and meet people who have been in your family, but you weren't aware of them. And I think that happened to you as well.
Yes, it did. I actually went on to Ancestry.com and I started looking people up, and I found a whole other branch of the family. This person, Nancy, ended up being the granddaughter of my great-grandfather's younger brother. So she had actually all the stories, and she right away said, "Yes, absolutely, we have this Indigenous ancestor." And we got to talking, we developed a relationship, and she sent me a picture of her, which was just fantastic. So I do have that book in mind to write at some point, and I think I might end up writing it as historical fiction, but we shall see. It's quite a story.
And you have a number of books out. When did you actually start writing and publishing?
Probably in 2010. I think I put out the first two, Charm a Killer. At the time, I was teaching high school, so it took me quite a few years to write it, but it also saved me from the stress of teaching high school, because on weekends and holidays, I wrote my urban fantasy novel and I just escaped with it, and it became my entertainment, which I'm hoping it is for other people as well.
And thanks for bringing up high school. I know that you were in high school, then you left, and then you came back and finished your degree all while you were a single mom. Is that correct?
That is correct. I really left high school when I was pretty much just around 16, 17, and I had grade 10. And, you know, I was a bit of a wild child, and went off, married a musician, and had 2 children. And then in my 30s, I really felt like there was something missing. And I thought, you know, I don't know enough about the world. So I started taking high school courses, which you can do. And I graduated when I was 35. And then I wanted to go on to this Indigenous Studies, and I eventually did that. It did require me getting a divorce to do it, but I did it, and did it as a single mother. And then I spent years and years going to university after that, because I just kept going. Like, once I opened that education doorway, it was so transformative for me. I just had to keep going. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations. That is really
Thank you.
inspiring. And I know we've discussed that your books are all based on some aspect of life that you have explored or experienced. And one of the things that I think was so interesting was that you worked in a lighthouse.
Right.
And I would love to hear more about what was that like?
Yeah, so I think there are about 37 staffed light stations. I'm on the BC coast, and around Vancouver Island, we still have all these staffed light stations that are really important because they give marine weather forecasts, and they watch the seas. And a lot of lighthouse keepers have saved people who have been out there in their boats. So when I was this is about 10 years ago now, I was teaching high school, and I was so stressed. I was just so stressed. And a friend of mine is a lighthouse keeper. So I thought, you know, that might be a really good thing, because I'm such an introvert. And I thought, you know, why don't I do this? This would be kind of fun. And so I applied. It's actually to the Coast Guard, because it's a federal job. And I got a job as a relief lighthouse keeper. So I took a year off teaching, and I spent a year traveling to different lighthouses around Vancouver Island. And you would go and live in somebody else's house while they were away, and it was fantastic. So I learned all those skills, and they've actually turned into I took all those different lighthouses and kind of made a composite of it, and created a book that I'm shopping right now, and it's completed, but it's a mystery novel about a young woman who can see spirits, and who has a trauma that triggers that, and then goes back to the lighthouse where she grew up. And of course, the spirits don't want her there, because she's unraveling a mystery, a family mystery. And so, yeah, so that's a book that I have coming down the road.
That sounds fascinating. I have never met anyone who worked in a lighthouse. So, and the fact that you were traveling around to different ones and you had to apply to the government, that also I didn't realize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's done. It's Department of Fisheries. So you have to go to the Coast Guard for that. There are amazing experiences I had there. The best experience was really flying by helicopter, because you just feel like you're a dragonfly. And you have, of course, your headphones on and everything for noise canceling, but looking out over the West Coast Trail and just seeing the lacy edges of the beaches, and the ocean, and the mountains, and everything. It was just phenomenal. That was my favorite part.
I love how you just described the lacy edges. That's coming from an author.
Yes.
That use of words. One of the other things I think was very interesting was that you sang in a pub.
Oh,
So
yeah.
were you always interested in being a singer?
Yes, actually, yes. When I was married years ago, my ex-husband was a musician, and I play piano, and I sing, and I play a little bit of guitar. And I always wanted to be a country singer or a folk singer. And he said, no, one musician in the family is enough. You don't want to do that. So when I was researching To Charm a Killer, which is the first novel in my Hollystone Mystery series, there is the young girl has her grandparents are in Ireland, and the only thing she knows about them is that her grandfather is a trad musician. And I love Irish traditional music. And so I went to do research there, and I stayed at a place in County Clare that that's what we did. So we had teachers come in during the daytime to teach us, and then at night, all these musicians, I think there were about 13 of us, we all piled in a bus, and they took us to a local pub, and we sat up there and we played music all night. And so part of my thing was singing these old Irish ballads and playing guitar. So I got to do that, and it was really fun. And then, of course, people I know here said, "What? You're such an introvert and you're singing in pubs." But there's such a difference between speaking to people and kind of being out and then going and performing, because when you perform, you put on a sort of your shadow self, comes out. And so, yeah, I can perform.
And I'm relating to what you're saying because I also feel I'm an introvert, but yet here I am at television.
Exactly.
But when I'm not doing this, I'm by myself most of the time. So it's interesting. But you shared that you were teaching high school and you were writing part-time. When did you realize you had the gift of being a full-time author?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I just kept going, right? I just kept writing books. And so I'm actually still working part-time as a guidance counselor for an online school. So, I mean, you have to finance your writing, and also I really love my job. So I'm still working with kids and helping them get through high school, which to me was such a transformative event, getting your high school and moving on into university. I think it's freeing, and it's like all these jobs, like one thing leads on to another. So I still do that, but now I've written like several books.
That's very admirable. And I think about what children have had to deal with now versus when I was going through high school. It's a completely different world, I would think.
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, and we're an online school, so it's a little bit different too for home learners rather than, kids who are in the giant soup of kids with all the different personalities and cliques and all that stuff that we remember, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And Wendy, you have a spiritual side to you as well. I'd love to hear more about that.
for sure. I've always been a spiritual seeker, and that really is kind of the basis of who I am. So over the years, I've dabbled in a lot of different things: Buddhism, Druidry, which I really love, and Wicca, which ended up being the basis for my series. And so I wrote the Hollystone Coven. The Hollystone Mysteries is a coven of witches from Vancouver who started out by solving murders, and then along the way, they also find vampires, they find fairies. I mean, that's the beauty of urban fantasy, is it's so wide and you can take it in so many ways. But all of the things that they do, except maybe for some of the rituals, the really crazy, bathing naked in the stream on the full moon kind of rituals, I do that. So I use pendulums and I use tarot cards, and I really am someone who believes in manifesting your life, and that if you think about it and you vibrate with it, you will make it happen. So.
Thanks, Wendy. We talk a lot on this platform, on other shows as well, about mental health wellness and how writing and creating and singing can really help promote a good, positive self-image. What are your thoughts about this, and what's your experience with it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that I know I'm right now. It's interesting because I'm just putting the finishing touches on a book called Writing with Your Muse: A Guide to Creative Inspiration, and it's basically a book about my writing process, and I've workshopped these a lot of what I'm doing there. So it's the basis of it is meditation, and using that to go inside and to write whatever you need. So it can be any genre, it can be whatever you want to do, but using that to go down into getting out of beta brain and going into a deeper level. so that you can access your muses. And I think that there is a lot of healing in that. And as I know writers that they, rather than go and talk to someone about their problems, they have their characters go through and solve those problems for them. So there's a lot of transformation in being able to write, whether it's fiction or it's memoir or blogging or whatever it is that you do.
Absolutely. I know as a part-time author myself, I write a lot of books that have to do with listening, and it really forces me to check in with myself and see how well I'm listening to me as well as to the people I'm in relationships with. So, Wendy, we're going to take a look at your Amazon author page and also your website. And I'd love to have you read for us if you have your one of your books there. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, that's what we'll focus on. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our VIP sponsors, Diane Floyd Babe, who's an international award-winning author. Let's take a look.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diane Floyd Bame's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at DIANN'S.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Bame. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Bame tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DianneFloydBame.com. Visit DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. That's DianneFloydBame.com.
everyone. Welcome back to the Corner Bookstore here on USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you so much to Diane Floyd Bain for her friendship and sponsorship. We hope you're having a great holiday. Our guest today is Wendy L. Hawkin. Welcome back, Wendy. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Wendy is the author and the publisher with Blue Haven Press. Wendy, we're going to take a look at some of your work over on Amazon, and let me share my screen so we can do that. Okay, here we are. Am I in the right place?
Yes, this looks
All right.
good.
That's good. Okay, so if you want to walk us through what we're seeing here and let me know where to go.
Sure. This is my Amazon author page. And it looks like the books, they're not quite in order. So To Kill a King is book number 4. That's the one on your left. Lure is the book I wrote 30 years ago and rewrote 2 years ago. So
Great
it is
cover.
Yeah, thank you. It is romantic suspense and set on the Chippewa Reservation in Minnesota. And it's won a few awards. It just actually won an Indie Excellence Award this week. So
wow, that's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm quite proud of that one. And To Charm a Killer is the first book that started it all off. To Render a Raven is book 3. And it's just a little bit of a hint that the ravens are actually vampires.
Ooh.
Yes. And down here we have To Sleep with Stones, which is book 2. So I might just add too that looking at those covers, they're called the tattoo editions. And those are all tattoos that people have, the characters have in the stories.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So it was really fun when I had written 3 books and then I wrote a 4th. I didn't know I was going to, but I did. And so I thought, I need some new covers. And I was doing a mediumship class, which is another story, with a woman who, Yasemin, who is a graphic artist. And so I called her after and said, hey, what do you think about doing book covers? And we had a discussion. We wanted something that was really clean. And so we went with the white. And then we started talking. And I said, they all have tattoos. And so I would send her a little paragraph of my writing and say, can you write it? Can you create a tattoo from this? And so she drew those all by hand. And she does a kind of an interesting thing with ink. And there they are. So she's just doing one for book 5 now, which is called To Dance with Destiny. So in that one, I didn't even know who was getting the tattoo until the last page. So it was really interesting because that's part of my process is I don't do any outlining. I don't know what's going to happen. I just do what the characters tell me. I write what they show me and what they tell me.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
anything else you want me to show people here on the Amazon page?
I don't think so. I have a couple of there's a couple of box sets there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of a neat way to get a good deal on the ebooks for the first 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And why don't we go over to you? Do you have something you'd like to read for us?
I do, and I was sort of scrambled because I will tell you that my books are quite adult. So I was like, what can I read on the air? But this is from book 4, which is a time travel urban fantasy. And at the end of book 2, there is an epilogue where the archaeologist, her name is Saoirse O'Halloran, she meets with the ancient horn god Cernunnos, and he comes to her tent on Beltane and says, I'm going to spend the weekend with you, and I'm going to take you wherever you want to go in whatever era of time. And that's like an incredible question. And I didn't know at the time where she wanted to go. I mean, you have to think, but where would you go? Jacqueline, if someone said, you can go anywhere you want in any era, in any place in the world. Anyway, by the time I got to book 4, we'd realized where she was going. And so this is kind of when she lands there. And it's called The Cattle Raid at Krogan, the previous Beltane. When the shiver struck Saoirse's belly, she opened her eyes. Something was off. It seemed she'd awoken inside a Van Gogh painting. Spiraling masses of stars studded an indigo sky. Dawn was breaking, creating a liminal gold glimmer on the horizon. Leaves fluttered, caught by the night breeze, and the sweet scent of apple blossoms perfumed the air. Also the scent of fresh cow manure. With a gasp, she sat up, wrinkled her nose, and glanced around to see just how close they were to the paddy. Then a branch snapped in the undergrowth, and the curious face of a cow appeared. Its nose and ears were as red as her own ginger hair, its white face flecked and freckled, an Irish moiled cow. She'd seen them once at the agricultural show in Galway. A native breed, the name derived from the Gaelic moil or dome that stood atop its head. The beast flicked an ear, and Saoirse giggled. If she were ever to be reincarnated as a cow, surely this would be the creature. She turned to Cernunnos, who slept beside her. "What have you done, man?" Her whisper stirred the horn god, who sat up, gathered his long black hair in his fist, and let it fall over his right shoulder. He ran his fingers across her cheek and over her lips, then turned her face to his. His black eyes flashed deviously. "I'm not a man. I'm a god, and I've given you a gift." A gift? She caught his hair in her hands and began spinning it into a fishtail. Her mind was spinning much the same. The horn god had come to her camp at Kilmartin Glen in Scotland on the eve of Beltane and offered to take her anywhere in the world to any culture or time she desired. But an Irish moiled cow? Had they just blown across the sea? In all her years in Ireland, she'd never seen it look like this verdant, this fecund, this pristine. Turning his face to hers, she stared into his eyes. "Tell me what you've done." "Your home, Saurka." He said her name the ancient way, drawing out the vowels and trilling the R with a breathy flick of his tongue. Home? The red-haired archaeologist had traveled the earth uncovering and analyzing ancient civilizations, but no place felt like home except. "So it's Ireland, is it?" "Eru," he said, pronouncing each syllable. "Eru," she echoed, and suddenly realized that, although she'd grown up speaking Irish at her school in Galway, they were speaking a dialect she'd never heard before. A corner of the god's lip turned up in a grin as he watched her face. "You wanted to meet your ancestors." "Aye." "And see the tortured king you envisioned at Alas." The tortured king? She'd studied cultures throughout time in Ireland, but could it be him? Old Croghan man? The king who was ritually killed atop Croghan Hill? Whose body was mutilated and sunk in the bog over 2,000 years ago? I think I'll stop there.
Wow. You really drew me in there. That's beautiful writing.
Thank you. So the gist of that is that she actually is about to meet old Croghan man in the flesh. And of course, naturally they fall in love, and she decides she has to save him because she's an archaeologist. She knows he's going to be ritually killed and sunk in a bog. Because this is a real bog body we're talking about, right? You can go see this guy in the Dublin Museum. I've been there. So she tries to save him from his fate. And so that's what the story is about.
That's fascinating. And you mentioned that you went to see him. How much research do you do for each of your books?
You know, it really depends where it is and what it's about. Obviously, ancient Ireland is something that required a lot of research. And so I did go there in 2017, and I went by myself, and I spent a week in Trinity College going to the museum every day and sitting with the bog body and photographing everything I could find on ancient Ireland. And then I got a library card for a local library and went down there and got all their research materials. So I took all of that. I also went when I was there to Ishneck, which is the navel of Ireland, and it's a hill. And I went to Tara and Newgrange, like all the Neolithic sites. And then my daughter came and I picked her up, and we went to Croghan Hill, which is the actual hill where he is inaugurated and where they ritually murdered him, and then he buried him beneath the bog. And you can see a picture of me actually on my website sitting on top of Croghan Hill.
You know what? That's a great segue to go take a look at your website. So let me pull that up. Okay. It's here somewhere. Okay, just give me one moment. If you would just continue talking about it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's in my bio section. There's a picture of me at Croghan Hill. And it's just an amazing thing. We had a really hard time finding it, although I had talked to some hill walkers about how to get there, because at this point, Croggan Hill is basically a cow pasture. And then at the bottom of the hill where the lake used to be, it's now raised bogs and it's been mined for peat. So there's all these kind of black striations at the bottom of the hill. And so we had to climb over a fence to get there and to get into the cow pasture. And then my daughter had to kind of push me up the hill because it was a lot, 768-foot volcano underneath it. And so.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. Let's take a look now. Here we go. All right. We're over here on your website, which is Blue Haven, Haven Press, PRESS.com. You can see it there in the notes. All right. Where should I go?
Where would you like to go? So there's my therapy dog.
Aw, what's your dog's name?
Skaha. And I spend a lot of time with her. I actually trained her for 2.5 years to be a therapy dog, and thought I was going to have to give her up because she was now in advanced training, and she was being trained for cues to help someone who was deaf. And so I was kind of, it's always mixed when you volunteer to take a therapy dog, because you know that there's the goodbye time. But the thing with Skaha there is, as you can see, I have a cookie in my hand in that picture. She is a crazy dog or food person. And so she will do anything for food and do anything to get food. And so she ended up failing because she's such a scavenger. So they called me at 2.5 years in and said, we're going to have to release her from the program. Do you want to adopt her? So I was like, oh my gosh,
she's back.
Yeah. And I was still seeing her. I mean, I'd had her one-on-one for 2 years, and she'd been doing days during the week and advanced training. It's kind of like university, and coming home on weekends. So, I started crying, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And went down and picked her up. So she's now still with me, and she's turning 6 pretty soon. And she's a great therapy dog. She still does everything for me. And it's kind of the best of both worlds, because she has all her cues. The only problem is she steals stuff off my kitchen counters. And the food thing is still very, very crazy, right? But she actually comes over when I've been sitting at the laptop or at my desk too long, and she bops my hands up like this with her nose, because she can tell when I need to go. So she's my constant companion when I'm walking and I'm musing and I'm writing stories in the woods or on the beaches here.
She's beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah. So there's just some reviews here, and I'm also a book reviewer. So all of my reviews are up at the top, and there's the books.
There are the tattoos again.
The tattoos. Yes. They're so cool. I just love the tattoos. I'd love to know if anybody ever gets one of those tattoos. It would be great.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And here's your book with the award.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great.
And here's how people can subscribe to your newsletter and then follow you across all the social media platforms, which I've done.
Well, thank you.
I highly recommend that. And I thought this was kind of interesting, the book trailers that you have.
Sure. Yes. I had a lot of fun making these.
Is the screen changing? Okay, good. It is. All right. So can we go to Charm a Killer?
Sure. Go ahead. I hope it works.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, good.
trailer's fun.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And the music was so captivating, and the way the
Yeah.
slides changed and the images beautiful. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I was just laughing at some of the reviews too. The last one was just so fun. There's enough bisexual polyamory in this book to make Anne Rice swoon. Because basically in that book, the killer is in love with Estrada, who's my protagonist, and so he's kidnapping people so he can spend time with him. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. And I also wanted to just say that the primrose picture, there's a woman in a green sort of cloak. She's an actual person that was in Galway doing street art and street performing, and I took her picture, and she ended up being an inspiration for Primrose in this book. Yeah,
I love to hear the story behind the story.
And Macbeth. I mean, I taught Macbeth so many years in grade 11 English, and it's my favorite Shakespeare play. So there's a lot of Macbeth in To Charm a Killer, and it just kind of wends its way through the entire story. Actually, the chapter titles are phrases from Macbeth. So I try and work my literary passions into my books.
I think that's a unique idea. I love it. Would you like to look at anything else before we close out the show?
Maybe if you go to my bio, I think the picture is a picture about me or whatever it is. I think that's a picture of Croghan Hill. Is it green?
Let's go there now. Let me take this comment off and show my screen. Okay, go to author bio.
Yeah, there we are. So this is at the top of the hill, and it is just amazing because from up there you can see you can see how green Ireland is, for one thing. It's actually my favorite place in the world, and I'd love to go live there. It's so beautiful. But you can also see the other hills. So they had ritual hills that on the seasonal celebrations, they lit fires on the top of the hills. So from here, I was able to look over and see Ishnak, and it's just amazing to be there to see that. So yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely
beautiful place.
It sure is.
Thank you.
Do you have any events that are coming up soon that you want to share?
I don't, because I'm in that mode right now that I'm writing a book, and I've got 2 in the can, and I'm trying to get them ready to launch. So yeah.
So tell us about when you expect them to launch.
Well, I'm hoping To Dance with Destiny will be out for Samhain, which is Halloween, and then the Lighthouse one, I'm still looking for an agent or a publisher. So if you know anybody who's interested in lighthouses, I have a story for them. And the other one is my nonfiction writing book, and I'm hoping to get that out this year at some point too.
It's very exciting. Mm-hmm. Wendy, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back and see us on some of our other shows as well. And I'd like to spotlight you. And even though we have the banner here for people who can't read it, or they're listening on a radio station, how should people reach out to you? Who would you like to reach out to you? How do they buy your books?
Right. Okay. Well, my website is, as you said, bluehavenpress.com. There is a contact there, but they can also get me at wendy@bluehavenpress.com with an email. And that's like, if anybody's interested, has questions. My books are available through the major sites, but I will say that if you're an author, the best way is to try and get the book from the author. So just because of the way royalties are chopped up and everything else. So on a print book, authors make very little money at all. But if you're in Canada, for sure, I can mail you a book, and it's just a good way to do it.
Excellent. You get a signed book from the author.
Exactly.
Yes, that's very special. All right. Thank you. And I wish you continued success. And again, I hope you come back and see us.
Thank you. I had a lovely time. Nice to meet you.
I did too. Nice meeting you as well. Bye for now.
Bye.
And thank you again to all of you out there watching or listening. Our next show is coming up. It's the Film and Music Show starring Dr. Madeline Chan in London and our special guest, Sharon Mullen. We'll be right back with that show. Thank you. Please go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Bye for now.